Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is Straight Out of Boston here, and today I'm back with more Out of the Park Baseball 17 here with the Boston Red Sox entering the 2018 offseason here. We are getting ready after wrapping up another disappointing finish to the season. We did lose in the World Series for the second time in 3 years, but we are moving on now to the offseason, and we are in pretty good shape moving forward. Certainly not too disappointing just because we are stockpiled with good young position players, much as the Red Sox are in real life, and we also got our contract extended by John Henry, 3 years, $1.4 million. I don't really care about the pay. I just obviously want to keep my job. Our budget, I'm honestly not sure if this is a higher, but I've been paying attention to where the budget's at. I know it's going to be pretty big using the Red Sox. Definitely an advantage that we're going to take advantage of. And David Price opts into his contract. Remember, he had that opt-out clause after the 3rd year in the contract. So now we are on the hook for 5 more years at $157 million a year. So not $157 million per year, but in total. He really has not been that great the last couple of years. Only about a 3-win pitcher. So really nothing we can do about that. He's closing in on his 10-5 rights. I mean, if we could trade him this offseason, now would be the time, but I am almost sure that no one would take his contract. But pitching is definitely an area where we're going to, look to improve on the team this year, or in this offseason, I should say. It's definitely been the weakness the last couple of years. I mean, our position players, for the most part, are set. We've got a really good young offense still. And, all right, so the Royals are actually offering us something for David Price. And, it's a tough spot. I mean, because I am using the Red Sox and I have such a dearth of financial assets and just financial resources, it's not the end of the world to carry somebody like Price on the team, especially if he is tossing 200 innings and coming in at about a 3-win pitcher. I mean, we could probably get that somewhere else on the market, but it wouldn't be a sure thing. And Price, he's likely to be pretty ugly at the end of his contract, though. That is the thing. 5 more years, and he's already 33 years old. So getting rid of him now, I honestly think would be the smart move, and it's something that I'm going to consider doing. I have some time to think about that, but I'm going to keep the Royals in mind as a team that is interested in trading for him. We would obviously not get anything serious back. Ryan O'Hearn is a guy we could have had multiple times, and I passed on him and have regretted it, as he has turned into a very, very good player. But I'm sure it would take a significant piece to be able to do a swap like that. Yep. Alright, so I'm going to hang on to Price for now, but we will see. Alright, so let's take a look at salary arbitration. So we've got 4 pending free agents who are compensation eligible, and then 2 who are not. And we'll just go through them here. So we'll start with the ones who aren't, because these are probably the toughest to decide whether or not to re-sign. Andrew Miller and Craig Kimbrell are both free agents, and we do have a lot of money. I will show you guys. You can see here we've got $66 million for an extension. And the question is, do we want to invest a lot of money into a guy like Andrew Miller or Craig Kimbrell? I mean, they're both going to command right around $15-16 million a year. And they're both going to go into their 30s. Miller's already 33. Kimbrell is already 30. So, maybe getting one of these guys on a shorter-term contract. I don't know if I want to pay both of them. But, Miller on like a 2-year deal, I think. I like Miller because he's a lefty. Kimbrell, I mean, he's been up and down for us. He was pretty bad in 2016, but, he really rebounded well last year. And then in 2018, this year, he was, decent, not great. The BABIP was a little high. So that's a tough one to call. Miller, and the thing, okay, well, here's actually what I'm going to do. I just figured it out. Is I'm going to qualify Kimbrell and get the pick on him and then re-sign Miller, because I can't get a pick if I let Miller walk. And I was leaning towards Miller anyway, like I said, because he is a lefty, and he was doing pretty well in Washington before we traded him. Not so much while he was with New York, which is a little surprising, but a lot of that had to do with the home runs per 9, and you can see he's kept that down since he got traded to Washington, and even when he was with us for only half the year, putting up a 1-win effort right there, despite walking a lot of guys. If he's only allowing .3 home runs per 9, he's going to do very, very well. So that is that's probably the biggest reason why Stephen Wright has been so good for the Red Sox this year is he has only allowed, I think, like 3 home runs. I want to say it's 3 home runs all year. So, all right, Miller. Ideally, like a 2-year contract, maybe with a 3rd-year team option. I don't know if he would agree to that, but that will be our initial offer. And I would even be willing to go up to possibly $16 million. All right, well, he will take that. Then we will do it. All right, so we offer that contract to Andrew Miller. Hisashi Iwakuma. So we'll quickly take a look at the state of our pitching staff. I didn't really go over statistics, but we'll just take a look at the pitching staff. We'll look over them as we go. So we've got Garrett Cole and David Price. Cole is definitely the bona fide #1. And Rodriguez finally kind of, had his breakout year. Didn't perform that well in the playoffs, especially in the World Series, but he was all right in his one start in the ALCS. But, he for a while had flashed with his peripherals and then finally kind of put it together this year, keeping the home runs down a little bit more and just having a good year all around. So he's going to be arbitration eligible. We're going to keep him. He will probably slide in as the number 3 or 4. And then we have Iwakuma. So I think if we swap Price out and kept Iwakuma, it depends on what Iwakuma is going to cost, though. He's probably going to demand, $19 million. That is a pretty hefty price tag for a 37-year-old pitcher. And he is not compensation eligible is the thing. I'm not so sure what we're going to do with him. Vmart, I know I'm not going to bring back, even though he would ask for minimal money. Same thing with Liriano. Even though Liriano wouldn't be the worst bounce-back candidate. But even as a 5th starter, I don't even really know if I would want to. If maybe on a 1-year deal. But I honestly, I'll probably wait, because what I want to do with that 5th starter spot is likely maybe look at some guys with 1-year deals, especially if I have a lot of money left over, depending on what I do with guys like Price and Kimbrel. And Holland, too. Greg Holland is another guy who had a pretty good year for us this year, really keeping the home runs down, which is good. That's what I like about him, is he's a ground ball pitcher. A lot of these good relievers are fly ball pitchers. And Holland is not demanding a lot of money, only 8. So I'd like to do a similar thing, maybe like a 3-year deal with that 3rd-year team option. And maybe even try to go down to 7 with him, although I'm not sure if he'll take this. Okay, he will. So we'll do that then. So we're paying a little bit more for those guys, but like I said, we have a lot of money coming off the books with Liriano, Martinez, Kimbrel. Don't know if he'll be back. I think if we're bringing Holland and Miller back, Kimbrel's likely the odd man out. So we'll pick up the compensation on him. And the real question is what to do with Iwakuma, but we'll come back to him. So let's take a look at extensions for some guys. The first one is Stephen Piscotty. He's arbitration eligible for the first time, and he's really put together a very solid track record so far. An 8-win season in 128 games, and then throwing up a 9.3 win season in 122 games, and then in 2018, only 4.9. If you average that out, if he had stayed healthy, he would have put up closer to like a 6-7 win season. So he's been really, really good, and I definitely want to keep him in the long run. Hopefully he will stay a little bit healthier. So I don't really know if I want to commit such a long-term contract to a guy who hasn't really proven he can stay healthy. But this also might be the time to capitalize on his value. We could look at like a little 5-year contract. Wait, let's set it back to 1 at first. He was looking for around 6 this year, a little less than that, but we will bump it up in the first year, and then go up to 8 in that 2nd year, and then his 3rd year all the way to 10 for that final non-arbitration year, and then maybe 12 for years 4 and 5. Do 6 as a team option. Alright, so he doesn't really want to do a long-term contract right now. So we are going to offer him a 5.8 then. And he will take that. Go back to salary arbitration. Jackie Bradley. Bradley is a guy, it's either going to be him or Benintendi that likely will be flipped in some sort of move this offseason. And Bradley, he's arbitration eligible and he's only got 2 more years of team service left. So it is kind of a tough decision. he was decent at the plate last year, but the OPS plus only an 87, so he is, a minus at the plate. But his defense is so good, and I do like having him on the team. I think, for $4 million, that's a pretty good contract to have him on. Okay, well, I probably could have offered him less. I'm not sure if he would take it now, but whatever. I will just give it to him anyway. But he might get moved. I'm not sure. It's going to kind of depend on what we want to do with some of the pitching on our team, how we go about adding more arms to the rotation, whether we want to do that through free agency or primarily through trades. Swihart's been really, really good. To get Swihart, the production that we get out of Swihart, I mean, 3 straight 7-win seasons, including the 9-win season in 2017, and 2016 only played 116 games. I mean, he's not only a phenomenal player, but he does it at the catcher position, where that is so hard to come by, especially nowadays. So getting Swihart and locking him up right now, I think, would be great if he wanted to. I mean, I would go so far as to offer him 10 in the first year, 12. I mean, it's going to cost much more than this to keep him in real life, I would assume. So even though these are high figures, maybe 22 over 7 years with the team option. All right, so he likes this offer, and we're going to give it to him. You know, I'm sure I have faith that he will keep it up, even though you know, he doesn't always have the offensive numbers. It's his defense too that really bumps up his value. So he's been a very good player for us, and I am excited to keep him in the long run. And he stayed healthy too for the most part, other than that one little stretch in 2016, the first year. Sandy Leon, I will offer him a minor league extension, but I'm going to withdraw his arbitration. Tommy Lane, same thing. I believe we don't really need to bring him back. Probably have plenty of depth. Carson Smith, we definitely want to bring back. He is coming off of a pretty solid season. We can get him for 2.1. That's a pretty fair contract, I would say. Paco Rodriguez, another lefty, kind of struggled for us this year, though. Maybe I'll offer him a minor league extension. I'm sure he won't take that. Eduardo Rodriguez, definitely bringing him back. He will cost us. I don't want to lock him up long term. He's still got 3 more years under team control. That is going to be time for him to prove to us that he is worthy of such an extension. So we will just offer him the 1 year 5.75 for now. And Garrett Cole, we are obviously looking to lock up long term. He's got 1 more year before he hits free agency, so I'm sure he's not going to be looking for an extension, but I obviously want to give him one. We could do 15 in the first year and try 22 in the following years. We could do, he's durable, and I think he will last. Pitchers usually last better than position players in these games, I find. So we'll do 6 years, with that 6th year being a team option. And that offer suits his needs, so we are going to offer it to him then. And that will be a good contract to get him on. That is going to be well below what we would have had to pay on the open market for him. So that is good, getting that extension done right now. And alright, so I'm going to cut out and skip ahead. Alright, so we are back. And I think I'm going to actually have to withdraw the contract offer to Blake Swihart here, because it turns out the game is actually glitching with the statistics. As you can see, his WAR totals were not really that high. For some reason, they were doubling, I believe. So close to doubling. It was actually sometimes like, I don't know what the multiplier was. I think it varied from player to player. I started noticing this and picking up that it was actually a glitch when I was playing my other OOTP save that I have going right now, that I do off camera, obviously. And so, you know, that kind of changes my perspective on a guy like Swihart. It's kind of his breakout year. So I'm not really sure I'm ready to commit a ton of money to him long term. I think the contract we offered to him was pretty absurd. And, you know, sometimes you don't really want these guys past into their 30s. I notice guys in their 30s seem to regress quicker in this game than they have in previous ones. So we're going to withdraw this contract offer from him. He's not going to be happy. We're probably going to have to go to arbitration with him. But, oh well. The rest of you guys are 1 year contracts. Garrett Cole, I think I still am comfortable keeping him. He's still an absolute stud, and he's durable, and I can keep him until he's like 34, 33, 34 with the offer I gave him, I believe. And the AAV is only, 20, a little under 21. So I'd say that's a pretty good deal on our part. And then the reliever contracts, yeah, we're fine with those. We have so much money to spend as it is. And Andrew Miller's a beast. I definitely want to keep him. Alright, so we got to... I'm going to skip forward here a bit then. To activate. And I'll get back to you guys when we get closer towards a free agency. Alright, so we are back just a couple days ahead of free agency beginning. So pretty much we got everyone to sign the contract extensions we wanted them to. And then, as you can see there. And then we also won a couple of awards as well.
Mookie Betts secured a Gold Glove in right field there. And then for a Silver Slugger, we had Blake Swihart representing us at catcher. And then we also had Garrett Cole take on the Cy Young Award, and Eduardo Rodriguez finished in third, which probably caught me more off guard. I wasn't totally surprised Cole won the Cy Young. It was only Cody Allen, who had a pretty good year as a closer for the Indians, but usually they give the edge to a starting pitcher in this situation. So not surprised at all that Cole won it. And he's still a pretty good pitcher here for us. So, all right, we see Blake Swihart receive $10 million. This is actually what I offered him in a one-year deal by the end of it, but not too worried about that salary. And then Craig Kimbrell turned down the qualifying offer, so he's headed to free agency. And all right, so let's take a look at. Oh, actually, I want to see. Didn't even realize we still have a couple days to go here because I want to see who the international free agents are. The internationals in this year's game are not quite as big of a bargain as they have been in past games. A lot of the time you could get really good international players on really cheap contracts. Now you have to pay them pretty close to market value, but you can still get some guy. I mean, I usually snatch up relievers out of the international market. They tend to be pretty good. So I mean, this guy, he's kind of a like a fringe starter, and he's asking. I mean, he's probably more of a platoon player. Yeah, maybe against lefties. He definitely has good hitting ratings against lefties, but he can hold his own against righties too. I mean, he's like a fringe starter / platoon player, and that is pretty much his market at around $7 million. Because think about a guy like Chris Young got $6 million to come to the Red Sox. He's basically a platoon player, although he's played better than it so far this year. But anyway, all right, let's look at the free agents. So we've got some pretty big names here. I saw Kershaw, McCutchen, Harper. Obviously, probably not going to go after anyone that big just because the money it's just never worth it. Even a guy like Harper, if you pay him $32 million to really be getting, I mean, they say that you pay on average in the market like $7 or $8 million for a win, so to say, if you go by WAR. But in reality, when I try to build my teams, I try to be getting wins for like $3 to $4 million, and if it gets past that, I really don't like signing the guy. And Harper, 6-win year in 125 games. That's probably a 7 or 8 win pace. You have to pay him $32 million a year. That's kind of bordering on a little too much, and just the money is you're just relying on that one player so much. I just think that I prefer to spread it out, so to say, not necessarily have the elite of elite talents, but we have enough elite talents as it is. I mean, Betts, Piscotty, all those guys. So, I mean, thinking about what we really want to improve this team, probably, I mean, yeah, still have to go with another pitcher. But the lineup is pretty set, I would say. And I feel like I'm probably repeating myself because I'm recording these two parts of this one episode very far apart from each other. So I'm probably repeating myself a lot from what I said in the first, 10 minutes of the video. Benintendi is a guy I would be interested in trading just because his defense is so poor. And he really just needs experience. I mean, maybe if we played him in left field, he'd get better, but it just takes so long for the rating to build up. That's the one thing that frustrates me. Sometimes when I'm playing in my offline save, I play in commissioner mode and I bump the defensive ratings. Not based on, I don't bump the actual ratings, but the rating is very much dependent on how much experience you have playing that position. And so sometimes I just bump the experience because some guys like Benintendi could just be naturals and pick up the position pretty naturally, especially moving from center field to left field. It really shouldn't be that difficult. But anyway, game is the game, so I just have to deal with it. But Benintendi is the guy I would be open to trading just because we also have Poppy, who can be a backup outfielder for us. And we still have Foscalina, who doesn't really have a spot yet. Probably going to take over for Pedroia soon enough, though. He's probably our second baseman of the future. Moncada and Bogarts, we're obviously keeping Travis is a guy I would be open to improving onto at first base. But Swihart we're good with for now. And we have Poppy DHing, so we could definitely use another hitter, I would say. Another hitter and another pitcher if we really wanted to fortify this unit. And then bullpen-wise, bullpens, in free agency, this is really, I usually go after the relievers. I find those are the best contracts you can get. But our bullpen is pretty solid for now. I'd say it's set. We also have Richard Rodriguez. Yeah, I want to use this guy. Callahan's really nothing. We brought Rodriguez back. Tazawa, he's under contract. No, he's a free agent. Oh, no, he is under contract. I would like to move him. Although, I guess, well, yeah, it's the home run ball that killed him this year. Would be a decent bounce back candidate, but... Alright, so for this free agency class, I'm not going to offer anyone a contract right away. But what I am going to do is monitor some of these guys, see if their demands go down. Because, like, Clayton Kershaw obviously would be great to have. But for $40 million a year, that is pretty hefty. And, I mean, it would be made better if we could get David Price off the team and get his contract away. But it's unlikely now that free agency is filed that we're going to be able to do that. Alright, and we're back. So, we are going to be pulling off a trade here with the LA Dodgers, trying to get rid of David Price's contract. Obviously, he did not opt out after that third season with the team, and you know, I just don't want to be on the hook for him as he goes into his late 30s for $30 million a year for the next 5 years. And anything I can do to get out of this contract, I would. And we are actually getting a pretty decent return out of the Dodgers here. Frankie Montas, who actually was in the Red Sox organization way back when. I'm not sure if the Red Sox are the team that signed him. I feel like he might have been well, no, I don't remember now. But I think he was in the Jake Peavy trade, I want to say. And then he ended up in the Dodgers in the Trace Thompson trade. And now he's going to be back on the Red Sox. And we're also going to get Luis Feliz, a pretty nice little shortstop here. Could turn into something. International signing a couple years ago. The OSA ratings favor him a bit more than our head scout does, but still pretty solid numbers in rookie ball for LA. So still a low-level player, a few years away, but Montas could make an immediate impact. And we're throwing in a bunch of guys here to make it work. And even still, Mike Hazen says this is not a fair at all. We're not getting much in return. But I want to get rid of Price's contract. And the reason I want to get rid of Price's contract is because I want to position myself to make a run at Clayton Kershaw, who's scheduled to be a free agent this year. And that's not actually the reason I traded Price to the Dodgers, because the Dodgers still have plenty of money to be able to re-sign Kershaw if they wanted to. But Kershaw's looking at possibly like $40 million a year, and I'm going to want to try and give him a contract like that if I can, just because getting him over David Price, even though it would only cost us about $10 million more per year, the improvement that I get there is so good. I think that it's well worth it. So getting Kershaw would be nice. We could add him to the mix. Iwakuma, I forget if I decided to offer him a contract. I guess I didn't, because he was looking for pretty big money. So we could be looking at making a trade once we get towards the beginning of free agency. But for now, we are just going to stand pat